And those of you who are on the wall, you'll be making your presentation shortly, but just remember, you got 2 questions to answer. Why is this bill needed, and what does your bill do? And on all committee chairmen at the front of the line. Chairman Green, would you open us with prayer, please?
Let us pray. Father, we beseech you this morning, as the world is in turmoil and the people of the Ukraine fight for their lives, we pray for them. We pray, oh Father, their blessings upon those that are struggling for freedom. And Father, we just thank you for the freedoms that we have here in our nation. And Father, we thank you for the opportunity to serve thee at this legislature. And we pray, oh Father, that we will make the right decisions for the state and its citizens. Be with us now, Father, forgiving us of our sins and shortcomings. Guide us and direct us in the days ahead. In thy holy name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, sir. All right. I think probably every day this week I've made a comment about Ukraine because it's a very sad situation we have over there. And, one of the things that bothers me as bad as anything else about that situation, we're still buying oil from Russia. We buy about 200,000 barrels a day of crude oil and a little over 500,000 barrels a day of other petro products. Sad commentary. Okay, let's go. We're going to go with the Rules Committee members. Push your button if you got a bill in. Representative Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got House Bill 1039, working off LC 432311S, and this bill extends the tax credit for short line railroads. It's a bill that came out of the Rural Development Council.
Okay, anyone have a question, please raise your hand. Okay, seeing none. Chairman Mullis, would you please come up, at least getting in front, close to the front of the line? All right. Chairman Hitchens. If you have more than, all right, keep the noise down. We got to get out. I didn't say the front of the line, just somewhere in there. All right, Chairman Hitchens.
Under the modified structure, second page next to the last, House Bill 1455 with the Georgia Ports Authority. What this bill would do is give the Georgia Ports Authority police jurisdiction for 1 mile radius from the Port Authority. We all know that the ports have grown significantly. They indicate that they believe they're going to have another 60% increase. They bought property off the port, and this will allow their officers to transit back and forth from the new properties to the geographical ports. Some of them are already deputized by the sheriff, but this would just put it in law and protect them.
Okay. Anyone have a question? Raise your hand, please. Seeing none. Thank you, sir. Chairlady Rich.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I bring Senate Bill 472 this morning on behalf of Chairman Kennedy. This is located at the top of the last page, and this is a bill that revises the maps for our Public Service Commission.
Any questions for the lady? Seeing none. Thank you. All right, Chairman Martin. Anybody has more than one bill, let's get them all. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, the bottom on the second page, House Bill 1406. This bill is about transparency. There's been a situation where in the state started a process to rezone, change what was going on in whole zoning classification. It would affect thousands of property owners, and we don't prohibit them from doing that, but this, in working with GMA and the municipality, this provides more transparency, more meetings, more notice, so that if you're going to change what can be built in a particular zoning classification, that all of those affected have to be notified and notices have to be posted. If it's more than 500 people affected, every 500 feet, they have to put a sign up and a notification. Just about transparency and being good neighbors, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you, sir. Chairman Powell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 1400, pursuant to a hearing that we had with the Cannabis Commission last November, we realized what a mess it was in. 3 years after the fact that this legislature passed the Cannabis Act for sick folks, they still haven't gotten this thing moving. There's only two ways we've determined that it could be dealt with, and that would be to either a judicial solution or a legislative solution. 6 of the licensees have been tentatively granted. There's 16 protesters that have legal standing according to DOAS. A couple of other things we did in here to be sure that this functions correctly moving forward. We've made them subject to open records instead of this veil of cloak of secrecy that they've been dealing with, and sets forth a process of raising the 22, go to 22 licenses and let the free market prevail. And that's generally what it does, and I'll be glad to get at a later time, get into the more details.
Anyone have a question for the chairman? Seeing none, thank you, sir. Okay. Chairman Stevens.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 1381 is on your second page. Just came from the Rural Development Council, requires 4 hours of continuing education for those members seeking funding from GFA. 4 hours beginning next July.
Any questions? Any questions? Seeing none, thank you, sir. Secretary Jaspers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have two on page 1 toward the bottom. House Bill 1042, it allows for a grant from One Georgia to develop to a local development authority to allow a physician's office in high area need, area of high need.
Any questions? All right, thank you, sir. One more.
1043 is due to the shortage of teachers in some fields in TCSG, this will allow a commission organization to be developed to raise money and help fund those high need areas where they're unable to pay.
Okay. See no questions. Thank you, sir. Vice Chair Ballinger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Seventh from the top on the second page, House Bill 1358. This would allow people to exercise their Second Amendment rights without having to have a card from the government. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Is that the only one you got?
Yep.
All right.
I think so.
Oh, any questions? Seeing none, thank you. Okay, folks, now remember, you got 2 questions to answer. Why is it needed, and what does your bill do to solve the problem? Okay? Are we going to do this briefly? We're going to try. Okay. Chairman Jones. Give us a bill number.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
I bring to you House Bill 1013, Georgia's parity law, on behalf of Speaker Ralston. It is on the front page about...
Well, you know, I normally require everybody to come. But you know, there is a, you know, you have the, our little red book that gives you the rules and regs and all. There's Rule 1, not 1.1, but just Rule 1. Speaker doesn't have to show up. So go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's a privilege to bring this bill to you, which is needed very much by the families of Georgia who are suffering from a mental health system that does not deliver the services we want them to deliver. We know that we have a number of different both state and federal laws that we are strengthening in this bill in a way that they're truly enforceable. And I will go through the sections of the bill very briefly, and then my co-pilot, Chairman Jones, will complete our presentation, which will be very brief. Section 1 deals with two very important financial issues of enforcement of existing rights that Georgia taxpayers already have. Parity is the law of the land. Physical and mental illness must be reimbursed and paid in the same way, and we have not enforced that effectively. At the end of the Trump administration in 2020, there was a new outline of opportunities for insurance commissioners to drill down and detail with specific definitions the right of patients to receive mental health services in an equal manner. And we have consulted with the insurance commissioner closely on his new duties. This bill comes through the Behavioral Health Commission, which is a 2-year process chaired by Kevin Tanner. We have developed at the beginning of 2021 a series of recommendations, and the rest of the bill carries forward on the recommendations of the Commission. After Section 1, which includes the parity provision and the enforcement of medical loss ratio contracts by managed care organizations, Dr. Newton calls it medical spending ratio, which is a better description. We are required by law to spend 85% of the contract value to a CMO on direct medical services, and this bill makes sure that that is happening in a similar way that 37 other states are doing. Section 2 is workforce development. We are creating a new set of loans that may be canceled, education loans that may be canceled for folks who are delivering mental health services and agreeing to serve folks in rural and urban underserved areas. Section 4 changes the standard in relation to which the police or other law enforcement or other healthcare professionals may conduct a 1013 evaluation. In other words, take someone into custody who is in danger, significant danger of harming himself or herself. We also remove the requirement that a police observe a felony in order to take somebody into custody based on a mental health crisis. I believe that our mental health services serves most Georgians, but it is the area of crisis services where we are most lacking. The rest of the bill, after Section 4, which deals with the imminent 1013 process, deals with opportunities for the Criminal Justice Reform Commission, Jay Neal, to make additional funding opportunities for counties and law enforcement on issues of transport, on issues of accountability court, on issues of mental health services. We are also eliminating a number of the duplications in the bill, in the law that we've already passed. For instance, there are 3 sections of Georgia agencies that are required to do prescription formularies. We're streamlining that in this bill. It's not 3 ways out, it's now 1 way, the Office of Health Strategy and Coordination. It's a very dense bill. It's been vetted over many months. 3 public hearings before Chairman Cooper's committee were very helpful. We received 30 to 50 suggested amendments, and we have included 5 to 10 new amendments at each public hearing.
Members of the committee, because time is short, the only thing I would add is so many times we're hearing people ask us, how's the mental health bill going? I would ask you that you think of it more along the lines of mental health and substance disorder. Other than that specification, I think Chairman Oliver did a wonderful job, so thank you.
Are there any questions? Okay, seeing none. Very good. Thank you. Oh.
Uh-oh.
One second.
Yes, sir.
Chair Lady Cooper. You forgot to push your button a while ago, so I just skipped right over you. Sorry about that.
Ask for, on the second page, 3 from the bottom, House Bill 1453. This is also a medical cannabis bill. I don't want anybody to faint because I, was not in favor of medical cannabis in the beginning. But this legislature in 2019 acted, and we promised the people of Georgia that they would soon have a way to get medical-grade marijuana oils and all here in the state to treat their illnesses. There are currently 20,000 people on that registry that have a card, but there's no way for them to get anything. This bill is a sort of balanced approach to it. It goes back to what the House did. The House sent over to the Senate and wanted 10 companies to be able to produce. The Senate sent it back, and we got 1. The compromise was there would be 6 that would be allowed, and then there would be a backup 6. This goes back to that and way to do it. There are 16 companies that have protested, but I have a little trouble with the expansion to 16, making it 22 people that would be able to grow in the state, just because they protested. I have seen some of the scores. They were rated, these companies were rated on from 0 to 1,000. I have seen some of the scores, and some of those protesters were very low on that scale, and that's why they were not included in the 6. What would happen in this bill is that by July, the mid-July, the 6 top companies would be able to start production and have their license to do that. When the number of people with cards reached 70,000, then the next company on that second list would be able to start production. And then when it went to 120,000 people with cards, the next company after that. So it allows for the other companies to get up, a very orderly approach. It moves it to the Medical Association to oversee this, the medical board, because we're treating this as a medicine, and that's what they deal with all the time. There's a lot of transparency and all the other things that we would need to do. And there's a provision in there so that we would be able to track, the board would be able to track from the time the seed was planted in the ground until the person took the medical grade marijuana. And if they had had an adverse reaction, we'd be able to find it. So I would ask the committee for their favorable vote on this. Thank you. I'll be glad to answer questions.
Okay. Anybody have a question for the lady? Okay, seeing none. All right, Senator, I have been asked numerous times, why do we allow a senator in here before crossover?
Mr. Chairman, it's simply because you like me.
That's true. That is true.
And I'm so proud, and I'd rather be here than any place else in this building right now. And thank you so much for allowing me here. And I know what brief means too.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I'll read one line. First off, this is about the Chinese government. And with
Give me a second. It's Senate Bill 346.
Oh, I'm sorry. At the bottom of page 2.
Right.
For their civil rights violation, alleged organ harvesting, stealing technology, and then the COVID-19 virus that a lot of people believe started there. This forbids state agencies from contracting with government-owned or operated Chinese companies. This is not Chinese companies that come from China. These are Chinese government-owned and operated companies. I can go a lot further if you want me to.
Oh, I'm sure you can. Okay. Are there any questions? There are no questions for the gentleman, right? Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right,
Mr. Chairman.
Hey, and you know, we've already passed some Senate bills.
And we have House bills too.
I know. So we're going, once crossover gets through, everything's going to run real smooth, right, as far as getting House bills out.
Yes, it's WAO, and I'll tell you what that means later.
Okay.
Thank you so much, and if I can be of service to my little old committee to your members, please let me know, okay?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, Chairman Workhouse.
Thank you, Chairman. On the bottom of page 2, 4 from the bottom, this is a agency bill from the State Workers' Comp Board. It raises the maximum weekly benefit for workers who are injured on a temporary basis by $50 a week. And I have another one.
Okay. Any questions for the gentleman? All right. Seeing none. Thank you, sir.
Same page.
Go ahead.
3 from the top, House Bill 1319. This is a 2-part bill. The first gives a scholarship for those entering law enforcement and for our law enforcement to further their education. And the second part of the bill is to help our need for the shortage of medical examiners. It gives them a repayment, loan repayment way to reduce their debt and to attract and retain medical examiners, which we desperately need.
Okay. Any questions for the gentleman? Seeing none, thank you. Hold on a second. Chairman Martin.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to make the point, isn't it true that these are service cancelable? These monies that for the law enforcement officers or the medical examiners are forgiveness of the loans that's paid on their behalf if they stay and continue to work in Georgia. So Georgians would be getting a tremendous benefit out of this.
That is correct.
And both of those fields are very difficult to fill.
Yes,
I know we have some medical examiners that we can't get staffed. Thank you, sir.
It's the only time I've been to a committee and they fought over giving me more than what I asked. Thank you.
Okay, Chairman Nix.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Many of our local governments have major problems with individuals operating off-road vehicles, both on their public roads and in public spaces in very reckless manners. This bill would allow our local law enforcement to be able to confiscate that vehicle and after a conviction, be able to begin civil asset forfeiture proceedings to be able to have that vehicle sold. So civil asset forfeiture after a conviction.
What's your number, you bill?
906, I'm sorry.
906, first page, halfway
Middle of
down.
first page.
Does anyone have a question for the sponsor? Okay, seeing none, thank y'all.
Thank you.
Be sure to list out your bill number when you come up. I'm sorry. That's okay.
Thank you, Chairman. On page 2, bills number 5, the 5th and 6th bill numbers, 1343 and 1344, both come by request of the National Guard. The first one deals with the public report that they have to do annually. There's a requirement in there to publish the list of the names of the commissioned officers in the National Guard, and they're asking for security reasons to remove that requirement to publish those names. And then 1344 is, so 1344 is dealing with discrimination of employment for a wife who, currently in the law it says wife of a service member. We're going to change that to spouse. And that is the two bills, Chairman.
Okay. All right. Any questions for the gentleman? All right, seeing none. Come on up. Is this your first time here?
It is not, well, this year, yes.
This year, yeah. Okay.
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman.
What's your bill number?
HB 849 is on the first page, 6 from the top.
Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What this bill will simply do, it will require human resource personnel or persons responsible for hiring a mandated reporter. The reason for this bill, I've seen the mandated reporting requirement work as a former school teacher, and it saved the lives of many of our students, and I believe the same thing can be done in our workforce.
Okay. Who's number 30? Mr. Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the gentleman with Representative Smith, is there a type of company that has to do this? Is there a limit on how small the company might be? Who has to do this?
So anyone that hires minors, so it doesn't really matter the field at all. But there is one requirement: you have to hire more than 5 individuals at your company.
Okay.
It has
So
to
it's
be
gotta
larger
a
than 5
company
individuals at
with
your company.
5 employees or more.
5 or more, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Now, y'all be nice to him. He's one of the Smith caucus boys.
Absolutely, be nice.
Okay, see no more questions. Oh, I do. Chairman Knight.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the gentleman, in reading this and following the previous question, it says human resource personnel means a person employed to perform functions and hiring and administrative employees for a business with 5 or more employees. and which employs minors. My question is knowing the small business community, there aren't a lot of human resource personnel in businesses that small. And while I may understand the impetus of the bill, I'm not sure that these small businesses have those resources in order to comply with this piece of legislation. Could you comment on that?
Absolutely, I most certainly will. The intent of the bill is for any company that does have a human resource personnel to be the mandated reporter, or anyone that's responsible for doing the hiring. And so I think that would cover, I think, your question or your concern.
Okay, if there are any burning questions, we don't come back till Tuesday morning. So you got 3 days. Chairman Knight, you finished over there? Yes, sir. All right, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Henderson, would you come forward, please, and be on right after Mr. Bonner? Okay.
Hey, good morning, Mr. Chairman. I'm here on behalf of Chairman Belton, who could not be here today. Speaking to House Bill 884, it is on the first page, number 7 down. This bill came to us as a direct request from the Secretary of Defense. It's related to our transitioning service members and their spouses. It simply requires that the expedited license endorsement, which is currently in code, will be issued no later than 30 days after receipt of the application and all of the required documents that support that. If we pass this, we will join 28 other states that have this law in place.
And I understand, because I was on that military study committee a few years back, and that's one of the biggest complaints most military bases have, is that their spouses have such a difficult time finding employment, even though they meet all the qualifications.
Absolutely.
All right. Okay, Speaker Pro Tem.
Yes, sir, I had a question. The original bill, or the version I saw, was 90 days, and not 30 days, and my recollection is some of these boards don't meet on a, might meet quarterly, but additionally, there are some licenses where you're trying to get information from another state. And I know from personal experience, I would think it would be difficult to get that in 30 days. Would they then?
Well, it's 30 days from the time basically the application is complete. So if I submit an application, but yet there's supporting documents that would complete that application, the clock wouldn't start until I submitted everything that needed to be under consideration by that particular board.
And further question, I know we want to be as responsive as we can. I was one of those children of military parents. Have you heard from boards that I mean, these are volunteer boards in, I guess, many cases, that they could, in fact, do it within 30 days? Review the information?
I have not. As I mentioned, I'm presenting this on behalf of Chairman Belton, so I did not testify before the committee on this. But in my conversation with him, he understood that there are boards that do not meet on a monthly basis, but that does not necessarily prevent them from processing an application to expedite something that's already in code. So, but I'll be happy to have him touch base with you on that.
Thank you.
Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for this bill. It's a good bill. What I'd like to say is I would hope that whatever we do, we enforce, because we have many bills concerning military spouses right now, and our state does not enforce them, and nothing happens after we pass them at the legislature. This goes back 5-6 years. State Board of Barbers and Cosmetologists, just roadblocks. One thing, quickly, you need to meet an attorney to be an apprentice barber in Georgia. Pathetic.
Well, I will say that my barber does give me good legal advice. So,
Hey, Representative Bonner, we have one more question for you. Yes, sir. Chairman Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Representative, I mean this in the friendliest sort. I mean, we're proud of our military and we're glad to have them here. But I have two questions. One is related to the 30 days that I want to make sure we don't create a situation that can't be met. If in fact the board has to meet to approve the application, you could get in the untenable situation where the application became, is it not true, you could get there where the application became complete the day after they met or a day or two after they met, and they might not meet for another 30 days. So maybe as you go forward in the Senate, make sure we didn't create something that in some cases can't be met. It goes to Representative Williams' situation of us passing laws that they can't be met. And then the second thing is, I'm all for this, but if somebody goes to the front of the line, that means they go in front of other Georgians. So I would hope, Mr. Chairman, if we could, to the gentleman, Representative Williams' thoughts on the matter is, if Georgians are having a hard time getting this done, we need to, isn't it true, it would be good to fund it further and get more efficient so that putting the military folks to the front of the line doesn't move somebody, else back.
Well, thank you for the comments. The only thing I would say to your first comment is if this in any way possibly motivates some of our boards and licensing boards to alter their procedures to process these applications faster, I think that would certainly be a good thing for Georgia.
Okay, thank you, sir. Hold on a second. Mr. Powell.
Mr. Chairman, there's a footnote to the committee's questions on this.
Yes.
This bill came out of Regulated Industries. It went out of the subcommittee, but by the time it got to the full committee, it was amended in the full committee. We got the powers that be from the licensing boards and the author of the bill, put them together. We added language and cleaned up some language that would allow for these military folks moving into Georgia to go ahead and let it be on notice to get your ducks in a row, get your information from whatever state that you're licensed in, so that reciprocity would work, and then sending a message to these licensing boards, even the ones that don't meet except on a quarterly basis, to have the joint board at the Secretary of State's office where most of these would come, so that once that information is given to them, then they can go ahead and prep it and get it ready.
Okay. Very good. Good information. Thank you, sir. All right, Ms. Henderson.
Good morning, Chairperson. Thank you very much for allowing me to come up. I'm here to address HB 937. HB 937 is a bill that's very personal to me because I was diagnosed with rare beginning stage breast cancer 4 months ago. I say it was rare because it was one that the doctors hadn't seen in over 20 years. It was beginning stage to form, stage 0, and had not spread into other tissues of my body. I received a mammogram, and with early detection and 3 months of treatment, I rang the bell cancer-free on February 4th, which is about 3 weeks ago, thank God. There is a bill that was passed in 2019. However, this bill adds my bill number 937, adds the language for insurance companies to send a written notice to women upon reaching age 40 so that they would be prompted to get their annual mammogram, because early detection saves lives. It saved my life. Now, my daily connection with women, I've asked women, have you gotten your mammogram? A lot of women do not know that this is required at age 40. I've asked women, they haven't gotten their mammogram in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and some have never gotten a mammogram. So for that reason, this bill is very much needed. I'm hoping to raise a red flag because one young woman that I ran into at Cancer Treatment Center of America, she had breast cancer that had spread to 4 parts of her body. She was in a wheelchair with a colostomy bag. And because of that, she was already a stage 3 when she found out. Waited too late. Therefore, I'm asking that you favorably consider this bill.
Okay. Is that Chairman Fleming? Mr. Fleming? Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On line 12 of your bill is where it says you have to provide the written notice. And my question is the definition of that. Would it be written notice by paper, or would electronic, such as text and emails, be allowed?
Yes, sir, great question. The insurance companies, as I said, this bill was passed in 2019. There's already a written notice being sent. However, the written notice does not state at age 40, women are supposed to go ahead and get their mammogram yearly and every year thereafter.
So
this language would be added to that language.
Electronic notice is or is not allowed?
Yes, electronic notice and a paper notice as well.
Thank you.
Speaker Pro Tem.
Yes, thank you, Representative, for your comments and your bill. I mean, I'm obviously not a doctor, but I thought that the suggestions by obstetricians had changed, and it wasn't yearly that it was recommended after age 40, but it was actually on a less frequent basis to get a mammogram. I thought that the science had changed the length of time, you know, before it's recommended. Do you?
Yes, ma'am, and I thank you. That's a very good question. Even with my experience with cancer, I realized that the age was 40 because of my experience. And a lot of time you don't know what these regulations are and the guidelines are until you're actually put in the same boat with other women. And because of research, I found out a lot of pertinent information. Yes, it is age 40. It's required starting age 40, unless prior to age 40 you have a family history or hereditary problems with breast cancer.
So just a follow-up question, Mr. Chairman. So they would provide written notice to each female beginning at age 40 until death. Are they, I can't tell, are they to recommend a yearly mammogram, or is it to send a notice telling them of the schedule that's recommended?
Telling them that it's scheduled and it's recommended, because a lot of women, like I said earlier, doesn't even realize that they're supposed to start at age 40 and above. Just like the young lady that I mentioned, she didn't know. She said, Ms. Henderson, if I knew it was age 40, I'm at 43, and I found that I was a stage 3, I would have gotten it starting at age 40, and I might have been a stage 1, might have been a stage 0. And it would have saved her from the unnecessary treatment that she's in.
So is it your intent that they would receive a yearly notice to have a yearly mammogram, or a yearly notice that they should know what the schedule is?
To have a yearly mammogram.
Okay, which
Yes,
would
ma'am.
be contrary to what I think is currently recommended, isn't it? Yearly mammogram.
Hold on one second.
Thank you.
Geraldine Cooper.
Okay, that came out of my committee, and no one came forth from, you know, OB or anything to say that we had the wrong information.
Okay.
But I'll be glad to check that.
All right, it's a very good question.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, who's 36? Representative Hughley.
Mr. Chairman, thank you, Representative Henderson. But if I'm reading this correctly, it just says that the notice will tell women that there is coverage for an annual mammogram, and then they will take that information to make their own personal health decisions. It's not requiring them to do that. So that's how I read this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, ma'am. No
Right.
more questions. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. You're welcome. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, we're gonna have to speed up a little bit. They've delayed start till 9:45. We got 5 minutes. Does that give you an idea how much time you got?
I'm going to
Okay.
be super fast.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm here on HB 1405, which is on the second page, about 6 up from the bottom. What this bill would do is amend the zoning procedures law to clarify the process and procedures for challenging and amending certain land use decisions. Basically, right now, the law's a little unclear. It's costing county governments and citizens more money to kind of figure out which way to file it. ACCG, GMA, and the Georgia Realtors are all on board. I'm not aware of any opposition. I'm here for questions.
Okay. All right. I don't see any questions. Thank you, ma'am. Hold on one second. those of you on the wall, could you come back Tuesday morning? Thank y'all. See you Tuesday morning. Y'all be first in line. Yeah, take the picture so we'll know what the lineup should be. Yeah. Our time is running short, and we've got some things we need to do. First off, we're going to set a supplemental calendar for today. Do I hear a move on Senate Bill 472 for the supplemental calendar today? All right, got a move and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Okay, it's on. Supplemental for today, and don't forget, today's calendar has a 1 hour time limit to be at the discretion of the speaker. Okay, we will set Tuesday's calendar. Okay. I feel like, concerned who the sponsor of this, we'll put it down first. House Bill 1013, do I hear a move? Got a move and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. It's on. House Bill 1040, do I hear a move? Got a move and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. House Bill 1042, do I hear a move? Gosh. 1040. Okay, got a move and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. It's on. Second page. House Bill 1304, 1304. Do I hear a move? Got a move and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. House Bill 1319. Do I hear a move? Got a move and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. House Bill 1344. Do I hear a move? Got a move and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. It's on. Okay. House Bill 1039. Do I hear a move? Got a move and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. All right. We have a supplemental calendar for today. Senate Bill 472. For Tuesday, we have House Bill 1013, 1040, 1304, 1319, 1344, and House Bill 1039. Oh, 1042. Oh. Yeah, I was wondering if you're paying attention. 1042. Okay, one other little bit of business pursuant to Rule 33.3. The recommendation is to limit debate on all rule calendars through day 28, which is crossover with the debate time limited to 1 hour to be distributed at the discretion of the speaker. Do I hear a move? Got a move and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. It's on. Thank y'all. It's okay. Those things happen.